Welcome to H2O. One of the pleasures of starting on the day two is everyone's well acquainted with the space. They're batched in, so they stroll in 15 minutes late. So apologize for starting the schedule off, but give the maximum audience attention. Thank you for making this one of the largest H2O worlds ever. Thank you, San Francisco. In more ways than one, it feels like homecoming, right? When you're in your home grounds. San Francisco is where the company was conceived and built, and brick by brick over the years, through the support of the friends, family, community, and team, we built a reasonable movement, a movement that one day we could be proud of, and hopefully we're slowly progressing towards that. But it is the love of the community that brought us this far, and we are quite grateful for that. Our open source has doubled year on year. We stopped counting somewhere along the way in 18. But the users are everywhere. We get emails, we get tweets, LinkedIn messages, thank you notes, worldwide, and everywhere. I even run into people talking about the different flavors of products in places that, like in the airports, in grocery chains. So we're quite shocked and positively surprised at the level of reception the community has given for an honest piece of work that most of us put our hearts behind. So thank you for loving us so dearly. Time is the only non-renewable resource, and you'll probably hear this for a few times. Our time to us is not coming back, no matter what we can do to it, no matter how much we pay. And so make it count. Make every moment yours to not lose it. 3 things to learn from a child. Always be happy, never be idle, and cry for what you want. We really had to cry to make data science a core theme for software, all technology, all hardware. And we really wanted it. This was something we wanted to see happen. The soft-spoken statistician or data scientist is not changing the world by being the loudest person in the room. It's changing the world by forcing us to rethink the same thing in new ways. And the core theme of H2O has been, how do we make data scientists happy? And that's a kind of an impossible task. But I think we're trying. And the world has let us do that. There's a corollary to this. It's actually a saying from the Hasidis. Learning is fun. You can learn from anyone. I remember putting the slide once up, and my mom said, "You made me rethink thieves." From a thief, you can learn that you need to work at night. Most of these slides are made at night. If one cannot gain today, just come back tomorrow. Just do it again. To love your team as one. I wouldn't be here without an amazing team behind me. And they work tirelessly, relentlessly. And we pass the baton as if it's one unit. Number 4, key one, be willing to risk one's life just for a little thing every night, every day at work. Every day at work, these guys are risking their lives. And once risked, they probably take an expensive laptop and they sell it for $20, maybe a fraction of the cost. They risk their life to attain something, and they give it up in a matter of a fraction of the value. So don't attach too much to the thing you've obtained. And to withstand all kinds of beatings and tortures for AI. We've taken that at length. We've tried to, it was not, we're the second .ai domain. And when we started to do that, people were like, well, AI has had so many winters. It's not the first or the last one. So .ai was a bold one, and at the time, people said, well, this is really edgy. Today, fortunately, AI is everywhere. And to believe that your work is worthwhile and not be willing to change it. Joy is the source of all life. One of the things I learned is when you hire great people, you don't tell them what to do. You ask what could be done. Give them the art of the possible, inspire. Don't take the joy away from work. It is joy that drives everything. Almost all of life is towards joy. Data science is a search for truth. And what we've learned with relentless pursuit of that truth is that for every question, there is an answer. For every answer starts the next question. So it's a continuous process. And like a stone which first falls in water, you get so rounded over the time that the journey is really the pleasure. Self-trust. Any time you thought you believed in yourself too much, believe twice more. Because self-trust is the source, the essence of all heroism. Authenticity is the name of the game. There's one word that you can see of the ways, our ways, is we try to be authentic. Most of our people are every day trying to be authentic. And we want our community to take this product and use it in your own authentic ways and amplify the you in everything. Self-discovery is the essence of all knowledge. So if data science is pursuing the truth, it's really not too long before it asks the question, who am I? And in the words of Bulleh Shah, this question is answered in a million ways. The Sufis had it the best. They tried to blend every culture that they could get their hands on about 100 years ago. And we are still trying to find and apply it in today's ways. Data is an absolute team sport. Every one of these dimensions separates people of two different classes, two different thinking. And to blend them, you need to be able to think almost universally across these dimensions. The domain scientist obviously wants to build business apps and drive business. Designers want to thrill the users, and algorithms are always focused on data. Data engineers are their counterparts. Bringing this multifaceted, multidimensional art form together to build AI-first apps means you need to transcend these boundaries. Over this every edge of the boundary, there's product innovation to be made. Every edge of the boundary, there is clash. And that clash leads to innovation. If you can thrive in clash, if you can create that harmonious way to blend these dimensions. Team sports, unfortunately, are the least appreciated, incentivized items at work. So bringing teamwork means a rethink of the culture of work. Love is one of these things that blends those pieces. Love is perfect comprehension. How can I understand it so beautifully, so deeply, that I actually can enjoy it? And give empathy. Empathy for the other side of the dimension, whether it is the person you're working with, or the person you're working for, or the customer. Empathy is probably the deepest emotion that we've learned through our work. Love is the only renewable resource. To beat time, we have one of the greatest forces on our side, and that is love. And love is quite an astonishment that it actually exists. you have to think of the other before the me. And that takes a tremendous amount of investment and putting yourself out there. The individual, the role of the individual in the universe is being challenged. And how do you go from being an individual to universal? I think that is the transition, that is the transformation we want to and we hope to see. Love can bring that transformation. Every human today, every average, what we call an average human today, has the power of a king in the medieval world. So you can bring change by just, even the little thing you can do will bring the big change, or will have bigger impact than not doing it. It might be the smallest thing you would do it, you could do, but it's still valuable. I chose to build a machine learning library 7 years ago on the streets of San Francisco. And before you know, there are hundreds of people using it, thousands of people, and a movement has started. To connect the dots from the individual to the universal takes action, just one step. When I was on stage, probably many years ago, 30 years ago, my father taught me this poem about Purnam. That is perfect, this is perfect, from the perfect, there is a perfect. Taking the perfect from the perfect alone remains.
Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The three Shantis: harmony, peace for myself, peace for my relationships, my family, and peace for the universe. The three dimensions in which we want to transform the world. And I think at the time I didn't realize how much of the infinite is within us and how much we are close to the infinite as well. Data transforms processes. To transform processes, you need courage. You need to believe in the process change. The only wisdom we can hope to acquire is the wisdom of humility. And humility is endless. Gratitude, I believe, T.S. Eliot said, humility is endless. Gratitude, I believe, like humility, is endless. Thank you, San Francisco. Thank you, community, customers, partners. So many visionary speakers who will come on this stage after me, who all have inspired us to continue on the journey and to build something that's valuable. Thank you, ecosystem creators. I call them co-creators. Thank you, competition, for keeping us honest. Thanks for building upon what we built and challenging us to continue to improve. Patents for AI-first applications. At the heart of what we're doing is we're converting data to code. Data in the 80s, 90s was converted to code using expert systems, rule engines. Today, we use statistical machine learning. One of the key patterns of that is feedback loops. If you can connect feedback loops in your applications and have empathy and try to create feeling for your users to enthrall them to give that feedback, how often do we like something? How often we dislike something? To create that response, the emotional response, you need to reinvent user experience for AI. You need to reimagine how to get feedback and how to react to it. The new part of the data, trying to create new data, is absolutely the core theme behind how to make AI-first applications. Go beyond just the data you started with to create net new data. That is the asset you're creating. with every AI app. Or, in other words, you're trying to make, and the customer starts buying, and then you experience the change, and then you create a maker culture all over again. Our vision of building products is to give it to customers and then start having that dialogue with them directly so you can start rebuilding almost relentlessly. Over the last couple of years, we released a product called Driverless AI. There are about greater than 10,000 versions of editions of the product we built, and continuous improvements happen. Our open source product, H2O, many of you have seen this before, is building models and creating that code, the data to code transition. It's very simple. I'm sure so many of you have seen this in every H2O world. The world's fastest GLM, still the world's fastest GLM on CPUs, 110 million rows. And with the click of a button, we produce software that you can plug into your application. Software, and I was talking to a customer yesterday, asking him, honestly, how did you learn of us? And he said, your GLM, the same GLM you built with Professor Tip Shirani and Trevor Hasty's inspiration and scaling it on multiple clusters of a Hadoop or Spark or plain vanilla clusters. That same GLM is still the most widely used algorithm. I remember setting the stone for coding this product, this algorithm, and I told the engineer then, we will see hundreds of millions of users use this. And I think we are heading towards at least millions of users. This was our groundbreaking first product, that automatic conversion into code and deploying into applications has become table stakes today to deploy models into production. But the assembly language for AI is machine learning. We can't afford to teach everyone on the planet the assembly language of any programming model. And hence, the next emergence of the next phase is almost obvious, automatic machine learning. So the compilers for this space is automatic machine learning, and beyond that is how we're going to build continuously learning containers, because data is changing all the time. We can't wait to rebuild. We can't, like any learning system, like any intelligent system, we have to learn from yesterday. We have to learn from the last few hours. And that continuously learning containers is what middleware we're attempting to build next. In the grand scheme of things, strategy is still very ad hoc. When we started data scientists, the role of data scientist was very ad hoc, and data science itself was ad hoc. With H2O3 and other machine learning, open machine learning frameworks, fortunately, we managed to create an open framework world for AI that allows data science to be less ad hoc. Automatic machine learning, obviously, driverless AI is a classic example of that. H2O3 also has an AutoML. Those products have essentially made the day-to-day of data science much more easier. It's still a data science-focused product. It's still ready to enable the data scientists keep up with the data engineer, bringing data continuously to them. The data engineer obviously is expecting pipelines to power his apps, and that's the continuous cycle that we are in right now. But over time, we expect strategy to take this, to take a scientific role. Business science or strategy science is right around the corner. When data scientists are powering and sitting at the table and bringing that change. The driverless AI product it envisions that AI can be simplified using AI. And so that's, again, one of those perfection trying to help perfection, right? How do you get AI to do AI all the way down? Let me show a couple of themes that we built in that space. Let's build a model in this is a sentiment model in natural language processing. Airline sentiment. There are some answer columns that need to be removed here. Classic. Obviously, we step outside the boundaries of just using H2O. We can use TensorFlow, we can use rule engines. Streaming models can use FTRL. Again, as you can see, most of the knobs are still data science centric. Let me reduce the interpretability button on this one a bit. Try to see how we pick up even more of the models, CNN, BI grew. The idea here is to make as much of these models automatic as possible. Let's pick one of these. The evolution of this model is we built a continuous evolution as a. What you're seeing here is kind of the feature engineering that is one of the key aspects of a data scientist is trying to essentially build a report of how he built the model as well, not just the aspect of building the model. So you see kind of a documented, automatic documentation of how the model was built. Again, something customers want to customize and put some strategies on how you can take models to the next stage. Let's try our latest version. Let's try movie sentiments this time. Again, NLP has gone to the next level in the last year. If there's one space that has changed more dramatically in 2018, it would be natural language processing. ImageNet was solved in 2016, 2018 was NLP, year of the NLP. Again, I think the core theme behind using AI to do AI is how do we incentivize users to go past the basics of trying to massage the data themselves and try to create those feature engineering work themselves and go beyond that and ask bolder, bigger questions. Let's launch some more experiments while we are here. Something that does time series. Another Kaggle contest. Walmart data set. Someone yesterday was beautiful, where we had bought a few hundred of these instances being run simultaneously by audience. You can do automatic visualization of this data and look at the dimensions, look at heat maps, correlation graphs. Outliers, automatic outlier detection. This particular data set is how many, based on holidays, how to predict weekly sales of at Walmart stores. So you can run a simple model. Weekly sales, time series. We don't know if date is the only column, so we're going to say automatic detection of time series. Pick sample weight. The sample weight column that we saw earlier is about identical to the holiday. One of the key things of different recipes behind, if you want more interpretability, an interpretable model will need less feature engineering, and a less interpretable model can allow you to pick even more complex techniques. You see text by GRU is up here on the latest version. You can enable GPUs or CPUs with a flip of a button, and hopefully other architectures as we start continuing to implement them. Again, time series, we think of that as the moving edge of all work ahead. Time series will come blended with text, will come blended with other transactional data sets, but this is where we're going to see a ton of innovation ahead, especially in that gray area where you have time series smudged with other possible structures in the data. And time series comes at you in pouring, sometimes in 60 million ticks a second to millions of ticks a second, to occasionally just sales data that is not that core, that's not high speed. We can announce partnerships later today which will help us bring time series to fast-moving data sets as well. Here are some columns that it automatically detected that are not so critical for this model. You're seeing the continuous feature engineering, model building, and then scoring. Each dot here is a full-fledged model. In the H2O 3 world, you're building one such model. Now you're building dozens of them simultaneously in parallel. I'll let this start and then jump on to showing a couple of other clicks here on explainability. As you can see, the target variables, lag variables, exponential weighted moving averages across multiple stores, multiple products, automatically built for us, and then slowly bringing in other columns that make sense. Overfitting is a common problem in this space, and so driverless AI helps solve that problem pretty head-on by bringing in new strategies to prevent overfitting. While we are here, let's see if we have an interpretive model here that we can go after. Meanwhile, our text problem for movie sentiment has been making progress, looking at different reviews and pulling them up in the order of their impact for sentiment. All of these can be done simultaneously using the powerful hardware that you can afford these days. The idea behind this architecture is how can I take the recipes that grandmasters have been using in Kaggle and other places and completely bring the overall problem, solve a class or family of problems, as well as bring that in an accessible form for end users. Feature engineering, automatic feature engineering has been the most asked of us product innovation across time series, feature engineering, NLP. And then deep learning, how do I take advantage of newer innovations in deep learning that's happening? Connect that to my open source platforms, H2O and sparkling waters. It's a common question from customers. We've heard that and we're bringing them together. The convergence of our multiple products into a single end-to-end platform that you can use to power your middleware is coming together. Deployment of these apps of these models is also a click of a button. Now we have ability to deploy them directly, these model pipelines, straight into cloud without much extra work. So building a pipeline will automatically yield us ability to deploy these models in production. Once you build a pipeline, you can then deploy it straight to cloud, your favorite cloud, which we demonstrate Amazon in this particular scenario. A model is not complete without its interpretation. Interpretation of models is how you can take it to production. Here's the Walmart time series model predicting the future, the white line showing the future, and how that peak, what are the Shapley variables, what are the values of the Shapley that allow you to understand which of the features actually impacted that peak and which of the features impacted the valley. Taking these features then allows you to weave a story back to the business team. AI to explain AI is kind of the path ahead. The physics of this product is the physics of the team. We found very quickly that compiler engineers and systems engineers are core to doing large-scale systems. AI never attracted great compiler engineers. And we put them together, but we found that mathematicians gave us a lot of theoretical backing, but physicists ended up being core to our process. We've converted quite a few enterprising black hole theorists to become software engineers, and they've really shined and put their value here. Very quickly we found that grandmasters define what data scientists do. When they say light GBM is powerful, light GBM becomes the next most popular model to use. So stitching, bringing the grandmasters to actually architect the core product has been quite the key to our product innovations. Grandmasters don't all exist in one continent. So we found them wherever we found them. We went and recruited them in spades. Our first hire in India is Grandmaster SRK, somewhere in the audience. We have one in Dresden. We have one in Mountaineer as well. But they have breathed life into automatic machine learning for us. We are now partnering with customers for domain science. Our company has slowly taken a global scale. And the music you're hearing reflective of Prague, where some of the earliest engineers came from. And I found that you can get to the source and build even faster. So over the last year and a half, I've been making trips to Prague and building that team. And so soon we have built some critical mass out of that part of the world. India is our next fastest growing space. We expect to see that go from 4 to 20. Toronto picking up just as fast, and London and New York. So we've slowly attained a global culture, and we hope to embody and bring innovation in that same form. The last year has been traction for driverless AI. I put some folks who've spoken in H2O Worlds are going to speak this afternoon, and I hope you'll catch some of those talks yourselves. But needless to say, driverless AI has been a tremendous launch year in 2018. It won the Information Technology of the Year award twice in a row, and we're really excited to keep innovating and pushing the edge on that product. The core theme here is when you go back for your AI-first applications, start with the data science first, the data scientist first. Most AI projects today are starting with the data first. I think we need to take that paradigm and change it and ask the data scientist what data sets he needs. In H2O parlance, we say start with the Kaggle Grandmaster first. There's not a single project that we are working on where a grandmaster is not at the core. The middleware for AI is the next layer that's emergent. And applications, a plethora of applications, .ai. Every day we get a .ai domain that people want to power with automatic machine learning. We'll look briefly at AI to explain AI. You'll see a lot of that talk from Dr. Aguz, who follows me on stage. He has a very innovative technique to use to decode the inner workings of gradient boosting machines. Explainable AI, at the heart of it, is the door to journalism, of how to tell stories. Telling stories is the most human thing we can do, and we hope to be the only thing we do in time. The idea here is we're trying to build trust. How do I interpret the model and build trust in the machine learning method that's at use? Once you build trust, you can really tell stories. The world needs a lot of journalism, good journalism. And last year, we saw more journalism killed than adopted, more journalists personally attacked. We want to help there. When we started H2O, we found data science was in a very primitive stage, and journalism is in a similar primitive stage now. And we think we can build narrative tools that can speak from the product, that can do the science, the fact-checking for you with global data sets. We're announcing a fellowship program for data journalism, and we're fortunate to start attracting some of the greatest in the space from New York and locally. So folks in the audience who are poised to think about this, please spread the word. Over the last year, I was fortunate to run into Tanya and Dan Rubenstein from Princeton, both of whom have poured an enormous amount of time trying to save wildlife and understand ecology and ecosystems of a different kind. And we're quite fortunate to have them speak later today. But also we made H2O, all H2O products free for conservation. I was fortunate to actually upon an invite to go and install the product in the Leva Conservancy. We're excited on this journey. It also opens up a new area of research for us, how to look at decision making in animals. So actually it happens to be Dan's favorite topic du jour, but also he posed a question at H2O World London, can you understand how animals communicate? Can we decode how the language processing works in animals? It's a very interesting problem because, as some of us know, most life online is more like animals than humans. And not to say corporations tend to behave like large ecosystems. This is a very good challenge for AI folks, and some of which we'll pick up as collaborative work. All life is time series. And turns out the gravy zebras we saw earlier are leaving a trail of time series. Our work with our esteemed partner, which we'll announce later on stage, will bring a tour de force in time series and AI. H2O also announced an academic program last year, and we are very fortunate that across 55 countries now, 120 universities have adopted the product. We're getting to be part of curriculum, and this is both the Driverless AI and the open source products. We are seeking students. So we hope to make thousands of students able to use the product and give us feedback while break the time it takes to become a great data scientist. Our partnerships, as always, we built a strong partnership with NVIDIA, IBM, we announced a phenomenal partnership with them last year. And then Intel, we're going to bring Intel, we're announcing a Blue Danube project, which allows us to innovate and make AI available on industry standard systems. Tech Mahindra is in the audience, and they've been building a partnership to enable the last mile. Customers still need a lot of hand-holding. AI is still in a very, very infancy stage in terms of adoption. So Tech Mahindra and Capgemini have been partners for us in that. Obviously, we've seen our partnerships with Amazon, Microsoft, and Google on their cloud systems. We built a lot of connectors this year. So the product you'll see has connections into Minio, Snowflake, Blue Data, Hadoop cluster management. I'm super excited about a partnership we're building, which we will talk about on stage, on Fireside. See Dean in the audience here. Alteryx has been an amazing company in the making, and so excited for a partnership there that brings the discovery and storytelling, data prep, combined with AI. KX, which also I've seen Chris and Mark in the audience. We're going to build this tremendous partnership with them on time series and bring it to the IoT markets. These are some of the partnerships we're building, but that's not all of them. And we hope to bring more partnerships in response to how customers are using us and consuming H2O. Some use cases have emerged. Our strongest customer implementations are in retail banking, fraud prevention, transaction fraud predictions, credit scoring. We feel extremely passionate about democratizing credit. Democratizing AI brings credit to a wider audience, because now you can look at not just the few fields that you fill up in a table, but cross the dimensions and look at a much wider number of titles to continue to give and lend credit. We also have seen auto finance be a strong place of adoption, marketing use cases. KYC and anti-money laundering on the banks of master data management has been quite a pull for us. Several banks have adopted H2O to solve AML and KYC use cases. At the heart of what we're looking at is how do we make science efficient? The unit of science is experiments. If you can make experiments faster, cheaper, easier, and avoid the common pitfalls, you have made it cheaper to adopt AI, easier to adopt AI, reduce the risk of AI becoming too difficult to implement, too expensive to use. We need to enable our organizations to make new mistakes and not be afraid of making those mistakes. Otherwise, we will hamper progress. Learning rate of the organization is the key KPI. How quickly can I transform processes and build pipelines? Several projects at H2O in motion. AutoWiz, data augmentation. How can I augment data across different marketplaces? Can I bring the data that is not in my data center? You're quite familiar with the open source flavors, AutoML, H2O3, sparkling water. A third of our customers in open source use sparkling water. Some of the largest payment systems in the world in India are using sparkling water as their backend. Booking.com, a powerful use case for us in sparkling water, is you've seen several talks on that across the conferences. Very small team, big impact. You've seen that yesterday in live. We built data table and powered the team that builds data table in R. We ported that to Python. That's the data table without the dot. The Python version of the data table powers Driverless AI. All of it is open source. The aggregates, the functions, FTRL functions, all those innovation is widely available just as the rest of H2O3. The core, you're seeing the dark colored versions are the closed source edition of the products. What about AI to do BI? If AI could do AI, can AI do BI? We posed that question on the team, and they came back with something. Let's see. How do you enable the business user to embed all of AI as if it was behind the scenes? Prithvi has been busy at work trying to prototype early editions of how to take the challenge of making BI use AI. Natural language queries will start helping expand the territory of the repertoire of just doing clicks to beyond and ask natural questions on your data. This project is codenamed Quantum, wants to shine light on data. It's going to bring new ways of looking at your data, with Driverless AI being a simple engine behind which answers the prediction, not just the past. Obviously, this will be working at scale on large data sets, empower the future of how you will look at data. And like the rest of our product lines, next 18 months of work will give it life, and hopefully we can bring it to early users much earlier, towards the tail end of this year. Perfect tick spinning. AI to do BI obviously is a journey ahead for a lot of business users, or end user will be business users. AI is, in the end, at the heart of it, is a technology co-founder for business challenges. Eventually, imagination is still the key aspect, and being able to have the courage to ask bold questions remains the core theme. We have to continue to innovate, or we shall not be relevant. Innovate or die is the adage, and we are going to continue to innovate and bring new stuff to the audience of our community. Look forward to your partnership in that and your continued feedback. Human beings is actually a process as opposed to human bees, right? So we are a process, and if AI can improve human beings, we'll have a much bigger world to share. And of course, any talk without quoting Sun Tzu is not worth finishing. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Thank you.